Alright, hello and welcome back to Let's Play yet another no-name aim game. Today's no-name aim game is, of course, Killer Comets from 1980 and looks every inch of it. That is how you start a game, with as many loud beeps and blips as possible. It wouldn't be a hallmark of the 80s without it. So, evidently, despite the confusing appearance, it's sort of like a regular shoot-'em-up. Except you've got, like, the three buttons that shoot in three different directions. Left button shoots left, third button shoots right, middle button shoots middle. And you have the ever-present warp button, which always seems to take, random places. Use the warp button with caution. If you've ever played Asteroids, you know how dangerous and how fun a warp button can actually be. It does not seem that our laser... Well, I guess our laser can kill multiple people at the same time. And does not look like there's any sort of fuel or anything. So, let's jump right in. First, just the way this game looks. Oh my god. Like, if you've ever seen the old trackball classics, you got, like, Missile Command, and you've got Centipede, and you've got, like, Defender, and you've got Space Invaders, I suppose. Okay, not really a trackball game, but it's like, this game feels like all of those just kind of mashed together. Like, as soon as I first saw it and I saw this thing, the flashing laser light, I thought immediately, Missile Command. And it's like, what the heck is happening? Turns out not quite so much like Missile Command. I actually kind of like the, asymmetry of, like, how you attack. Because in a lot of shoot-'em-ups, you can just kind of stand in the middle of the screen and press the shot button and close your eyes and make it through the stage. Not quite, but, I mean, it's surprisingly easy. All you have to do is, like, dodge occasionally, and then you're golden. But this game, like, you kind of have to think about how best to approach enemies. And, I mean, you can't really dodge shots, so it kind of helps to come at it from the side. Yeah, jeez. Because it's like, you can dodge shots if you're holding direction all in one way, but then if you press... The ship's, like, so slow in changing direction that, you can't quite change direction and escape the shot at the same time. So, I mean, it really encourages you to, use its gimmick, which, I don't know, I feel like it's a pretty cool gimmick. I'm actually a little surprised that other games haven't really tried, like, sort of a movable reticule. Was Robotron was twin stick, not trackball. Oh, those glowing orbs. They kind of, like, force you out of a neat little middle position where you can just leisurely destroy the enemies. Actually, I have to say, for, like, an 80s game at, like, the forefront of video gaming, and especially coming after, like, the masterpiece that is Space Invaders, this game is pretty sweet. I mean, it doesn't quite move fast, but it definitely moves pretty fast. You don't even get to enter in your name? That's how old this one is. But I mean, it doesn't move like fast, but it moves relatively fast for an 80s game, and you can kind of like fly around the screen and start destroying everything. Oh, it even numbers your lives. How nice. I guess it kind of makes sense for it too, just because it does seem like you drastically change the locale every time you die, I guess? Interesting way to do it. Oh, I see. So you use the side beams to kill the regular enemies, and the front beam to kill the orb. Oh yeah, I could have just used the front beam to destroy the shot. It's more than a little bit counterintuitive, but at the same time, it's more than a little bit awesome. I don't know, I'm actually kind of surprised that a game like this inventive was all around back then, and yet, like, no one has heard of it for a large part. I mean, again, the graphics are very distinctly 80s, but at the same time, I mean, it's really sort of the gameplay that matters a bit more than kind of the looks. And this game, it plays really well. Actually, yeah, a lot of shoot-'em-ups from that era, I mean, you could only move left and right. You got, like, Galaga, Galaxian, Space Invaders, that Crazy Crow one that I saw a while ago. Oh, gosh. All of them, you just kind of move left and right. You can't even control up and down, whereas this game's, like, kind of moving everything. In fact, all it needs is, like, scrolling background depicting an awesome space battle. probably about like 20 more enemy sprites, rocking music, and you've basically got like a modern age shoot 'em up. Well, not really a modern age shoot 'em up, but something that could be transformed into... Well, I mean, all I'm saying is, like, you change the visual trappings a little bit, and you basically have a nice premise for a modernist shooting game. Oh, wow. And it even speeds up noticeably, so now it's actually, the enemies are, like, almost scrolling fluidly. Ah, jeez. And your ship's, like, inherent floatiness is, like, a constant issue, but... Oh, ha! Not only are the lives numbered, but the actual ships themselves are numbered, so, like, your friend can be looking over your shoulders like, oh, ship 4, level 2. Pfft, noob. Although I don't think people... What if there was an equivalent of noob in the 80s, and it was just rube? Also, it's a little disappointing, but you can't just, like, hold down the button for a continuous laser stream. I mean, that's kind of the whole reason why you'd want a laser, for a continuous laser stream. Although I suppose this is slightly more realistic in that the laser just kind of rapidly pulses. Oh, I wonder what happens if you turn on auto-fire. It's actually slower. So we've got auto-fire and all 3 buttons, and now we're just kind of a whirligig of death. It does not work as well as you'd imagine, or hope. Dang. Music's not really doing it any favors, but I'm enthralled by the gameplay. I mean, it's simple, but it's addictive. I think it's also a little bit too just because you've got this immense feeling of power, just because you can sneak up on the enemies from the side and, like, nail them and mow them down like it's some sort of shooting gallery. A lot of shoot-em-ups, like, because you shoot straight out, you're constantly in the line of danger when you're shooting everything. But this game, it's a bit more like when you're a fighter pilot, in that, like, when you're shooting at something, it's usually in a way that, like, they can't fight back. Like, you're tailing them and you shoot a missile. It's like, they can't just make a U-turn. They're kind of dead. But at the same time, I mean, although it is kind of cool because, like, even at the times when you are vulnerable, you can still fight back. So it's not like the enemy really ever kind of can lord their over you. So it's like you're always in a position of power when you're playing this game. Of course, I can kind of see why the arcade owners would prefer it not to be the case. Except for those stupid glowing balls. Those guys will always kill you. Actually, yeah, it is a little weird. I mean, you've got, like, all of these side ordinances, you can destroy anything anywhere from the side, but it's like all the enemies, all they can do are just kind of, like, shoot down. So it's kind of this marvelous asymmetry. I don't want to say it makes the game, like, easy per se, but it's like, once you figure out how to do it, you can kill everything in sight without breaking a sweat. I guess that's kind of the definition of easy, but at the same time, you have to keep an eye out for that stupid glowing orb who will kill you every single time. That's more than a bit of an exaggeration, but still. If anything in this game is going to kill you, it's going to be that stupid orb. Although, yeah, enemies can kind of compensate for their, well, stupid attack patterns by, shooting... Oh, wow, they just, like, eat you now. Enemies kind of compensate for their, lame attack patterns by moving faster, and having a lot more of them. I guess it's kind of like teamwork, where, even a bunch of ants together can destroy a big non-ant. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, you really do. I guess, if it's any consolation, your ship, like, is not so great on the straight-on attack. I'm very glad that they had, like, separate buttons for, like, the side attacks, though. I mean, there were a lot of ways to implement that incorrectly. Oh, weird. So, I mean, the enemy sprites are changing, but it's not like they're getting fundamentally any harder. Like, they all have the same silly attack pattern of hang around near the top of the screen and drop bombs. There's the flashing guy. Oh, it's even worse because it's like the flashing guy. He's flashy, so it's like as soon as you see him coming, it's like you cannot see anything else. So he can kind of lead you into traps, I suppose. Oh, now we're fighting albino Metroids. Unfortunately, thus ends our game. Dang. I mean, it's really kind of cool to see that a game like that has this good a game. Uh-oh. Because it's like you look at all the enemy sprites and it's like, is that it? Does it kind of end at albino Metroids? Well, you've got a Samus Aran ship. Wow, alternate universe interpretation. This game inspired Metroid. I don't know. You never know. Still, I mean, it's kind of cool to see a game this old and like play so well. Give like such a satisfying feeling of power. Oh, cool. Seems like the intro screens are all kind of random, and that's kind of the way you really want to do it. Although it does seem like the random AI is a little lacking. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. Killer Kombat, you may look like an 80s game, but you play like an 89 game. Well, on that note, this cat's got a scat.